Hello, I'm Ann Worth, Director of Marketing at Vidori, and I'm here today for a short talk about remote work with Dan Nolan, who is head of Pepper Cloud Product Management. Dan, to start off, can you tell our viewers about your role at Vidori?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to, Anne. Uh, I'm responsible to ensure that we deliver software that solves our customers' problems. And a big aspect of that job is frequently meeting with our various teams, our internal teams, just to make sure that we're all aligned with that common goal.
You run a lot of meetings. How are running remote meetings different from running meetings in person?
Uh, the biggest challenge is like with a remote meeting, you lack or you miss some of those contextual clues like body language. So like in a face-to-face meeting, someone walks in the room, they sigh, right? You know, okay, maybe they're having a rough day. Maybe the messaging you're going to use with them is going to be a little bit different. Or if you say something and somebody like leans back or like crosses their arms, you can tell that they're maybe not comfortable with what you're saying. And in a remote meeting, like in this circumstance, we've got video, which makes it great. We can communicate, make sure you use plenty of hand signals, et cetera. It makes it easier. But if someone joins and they're muted and you don't get all of those context clues, it can just be a little more challenging. That said, like I think there are some benefits too. With a team, you can really quickly just maybe Slack some people, say, hey, let's sync for 5 minutes, hop on a video call, talk through something and do that. And I think when you're in an office setting, people tend to be a little more formal, like let's schedule something. And I think that's a way that remote meetings can be a lot more helpful.
That makes sense. Yeah, thanks for sharing that perspective.
Yeah.
Next up, I wanted to ask you about the tools that you use. So, what tools do you use, and which tools do you find most helpful when you're running remote meetings?
Yeah, so I mean, at Vidori, our team is big on Slack to communicate and then also Zoom for our remote meetings. So that makes it really easy just to collaborate and share things throughout the course of the day. If you don't have those tools, that's fine. I mean, the biggest and I think the most important is use of a webcam. So like this, and you don't need to use them all the time, but like they definitely help keep that human element in place, right? So that way, if you're just dialed into something on the phone and people are muted, you don't necessarily know what people are doing. But like right now, as we're talking, I can see you've got a beautiful bookshelf set up behind you, and it just helps kind of keep that personality in play, like in your discussions. That said, like one thing I think people should be respectful of is you don't have to be on camera all the time. There are circumstances when maybe you shouldn't be, especially if like you've got a son, if he's running around the room because we're all cooped up in the house. Probably can be distractive. At the same time, if you're eating, I'd say maybe don't be on camera.
I think that's great advice. And I think that a lot of us can relate to those tips at this point in time.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And I have one last question for you, Dan. What is your number one tip for someone who is new to running remote meetings?
That's a good question. I would say keep some personality in the meetings, right? So crack a joke, make small talk, like ask how everyone's day is going. Like as you get into the meeting, like to start it off. Right now, everyone is in this life situation where like we're socially distancing, but at the same time, like as humans, we need socialization. Like that's important. And if you go into a meeting and you just kind of dive into business and then you just work through it, like you're missing a lot of opportunity to collaborate and get to know your peers at a better level. So I would definitely say just make sure you keep that part of it involved.
Great point. Icebreakers are so important. I feel like I've seen a lot of people blogging or writing about even lists of different icebreakers that you could try with your team. So I'm glad that you brought that up as one tip that people can be thinking about at this time.
Yep.
So that was all that we had for the interview today on remote meetings. Thank you, Dan, so much for your participation, your guidance on this topic, and
Yeah,
we'll talk to you all
absolutely.
soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.